NASA has just delayed the moon landing, again, and while the whole world is waiting on an agency that cannot seem to get off the ground, SpaceX quietly decided it was not going to wait at all. For over 50 years, the moon has sat there, unchanged, waiting, and the agency that once got 12 people there in 4 years cannot seem to get a single crew back. 12 human beings walked on the lunar surface between 1969 and 1972. And not a single person has been back since, not in the 80s, not in the 90s, not in any year that followed. NASA announced a new program called Artemis to change that, set an ambitious timeline, and then watched that timeline slip again and again, until the moon landing once promised for 2024 is now targeting 2028 at the earliest. That delay is not a minor scheduling adjustment, but a 50-plus year wait getting longer, happening at exactly the moment when another nation is closing the gap fast, and the company holding the lunar lander contract has not slowed down for a single week. The delay did not come from one dramatic failure, but from a long chain of smaller problems that accumulated over years until the original timeline became impossible to defend. The Space Launch System, NASA's massive moon rocket, developed primarily by Boeing and Lockheed Martin, took over 11 years to reach its first launch. Its debut uncrewed test flight did not happen until November 2022, already years behind schedule. And the second mission, which was simply supposed to carry 4 astronauts around the moon without landing, spent all of 2024 and 2025 grounded by compounding technical issues, including heat shield concerns on the Orion capsule, a liquid nitrogen leak during a fueling rehearsal, and a helium flow issue in the upper stage that forced the rocket back into the vehicle assembly building for repairs. On the lander side, NASA's own Inspector General flagged as early as 2021 that the development timeline for the human landing system was dangerously optimistic, noting that major historical programs historically averaged 8.5 years from contract signing to first operational flight, and NASA was trying to compress that into less than half the time. The safety concerns were serious enough that in February 2026, NASA restructured the entire Artemis program, converting what was supposed to be the first crewed moon landing into a systems test in low Earth orbit, and pushing the actual landing to Artemis 4 with a new target of 2028, which was the right call on safety grounds, but also meant the moon landing moved 4 years further from its original promise. Years of delay carry consequences that go well beyond scheduling frustration, and the most serious one has nothing to do with budgets or contractors. China has a fully funded crewed lunar program, and it is actively progressing. Chinese officials confirmed in October 2025 that 2 taikonauts are on track to land on the moon by 2030, using a crew spacecraft called Mengzhou and a lander called Lanyu, with a robotic prototype that's planned for 2027 and 2028 before a full crewed attempt. That timeline now runs almost parallel to NASA's own 2028 target. NASA Administrator Sean Duffy said it directly on national television. "We are in a race against China. This is not the kind of language a NASA administrator uses unless the situation is genuinely serious, and 4 years of compounding delays have made it exactly that." The comfortable lead the United States once held in this race is now a margin, thin enough that a single additional slip in the Artemis timeline could close it entirely. While NASA has been restructuring, SpaceX has been building, and the pace at their Starbase facility in South Texas has not paused for a single scheduling review or congressional hearing. Starship has completed 11 integrated flight tests since its debut in 2023. And the 12th vehicle is in the final preparation now. The next flight introduces Block 3, which is not an incremental upgrade, but a fundamental step forward, featuring new Raptor 3 engines delivering 22% more thrust than the previous generation, a taller structure carrying more propellant, and an internal architecture that pushes Starship's payload capacity from around 35 tons to over 100 tons to low Earth orbit, roughly a 3-fold increase in a single generation. Block 3 is also the first Starship generation specifically designed to demonstrate in-orbit refueling, the single most critical capability the entire lunar mission depends upon. On the manufacturing side, SpaceX has produced over 36 Starships and more than 600 Raptor engines, operates more than 5 million square feet of production space across 5 launch pads, and when Booster 18 was destroyed during a ground test in November 2025, had a replacement built and ready for the pad within weeks. On the lunar lander specifically, SpaceX has completed 49 human landing system milestones, and NASA has already paid out approximately $2.7 billion of the total $4.5 billion contract because SpaceX has been hitting those milestones on time. With work including drop testing full-scale lander models on simulated lunar soil, cold start engine tests confirming Raptor can ignite after sitting frozen in deep space, and a successful transfer of 5 metric tons of cryogenic propellant during a 2024 flight test. That last milestone matters more than almost anything else on the list, because transferring propellant in real flight conditions, not in a lab, is the foundational proof that the entire lunar refueling strategy can actually work. Here is the part that most coverage misses entirely. All of that hardware, all of those milestones, all of that manufacturing pace, none of it was originally supposed to matter this much. Under the original Artemis architecture, SpaceX was one component in a system requiring 3 separate vehicles to work together perfectly, where Starship was the lander, SLS was the rocket, and Orion was the crew capsule, meaning a delay in any one of them dragged the others along with it. The February 2026 restructuring changed that dynamic by putting more of the mission's critical path directly in SpaceX's hands. Artemis 3 in 2027 will test the SpaceX and Blue Origin landers in low Earth orbit before any crew attempts a real descent. Artemis 4 in 2028 is the actual moon landing, and SpaceX holds that contract, and the technology making their approach genuinely different is in-orbit refueling, where Starship launches lean, docks with a dedicated fuel depot in Earth orbit, gets topped off by a series of tanker flights, and then heads to the moon with Block 3's larger propellant capacity, potentially reducing the total number of tanker flights required. The first full ship-to-ship propellant transfer between 2 separate Starship vehicles is planned for 2026, and it is the single most important test standing between the current moment and a credible lunar mission, because without it, none of the downstream architecture works at all. None of this comes with guarantees, and the scale of what still remains unproven is large enough that it deserves honest acknowledgement before anyone calls this a solved problem. Starship has not yet completed a full orbital flight with both stages recovered. The actual lunar lander variant has never flown, and the landing legs must hold up a vehicle more than 50 meters tall on uneven lunar terrain in 1/6 of Earth's gravity, conditions that ground testing can simulate but cannot fully replicate. The Government Accountability Office found that of 11 critical technologies the human landing system contractors need, only 4 are currently considered mature. In-orbit refueling specifically involves transferring liquid oxygen kept below -183 degrees Celsius and liquid methane kept below -161 degrees Celsius between 2 separate vehicles in a vacuum, managing pressure, boil-off, and fluid behavior in microgravity simultaneously, and it has never been done at full scale by anyone. The ship-to-ship transfer test already slipped once from its original 2025 target, and it remains the largest open unknown sitting between SpaceX and a credible path to the moon, which means the boldest part of the plan is also the part that has never actually been proven. What makes this moment genuinely different from every other point in the last 50 years is that the machinery to go to the moon actually exists now, not on paper, not in a proposal, but in steel and engines and contracts with real deadlines attached to them. The question has never really been whether humans will return to the moon. The question is whether the 2 very different organizations now responsible for making that happen can move fast enough and stay aligned long enough to beat a deadline that neither of them fully controls. That answer will not come from a press conference or a congressional hearing. It will come from a launch pad, and probably sooner than most people expect.